What could be more motivating than a glass of Tropicana orange juice in the morning? Achieving your goals, making money, de-stressing? Okay, maybe they're not as good as orange juice, but they are still pretty nice. Welcome to the Orange Juice Podcast, where you'll get motivating and action-provoking content without all the pulp. Your host, me, Reggie Davis, brings orange juice to inspire the world with stories and ideas, both personal and shared, to help you peel back your fears and squeeze out your best self. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Orange Juice Podcast. We're here today for a very special episode, and don't get me wrong, every episode is special, but I'm going to suggest you all start a business. Then we'll talk a little bit about knowledge, but as for starting a business, a lot of people, as soon as I said that, kind of already got the ugh. But no, seriously, it's for more people than I think we commonly think it is. Entrepreneurship is hard, and there are definitely some challenges, but I mean, me personally, as someone who will be a future millionaire, and I know I have a lot of future millionaires listening, it makes a lot of sense to go do the work for yourself. And before you write me off with, oh, it's too much work, it's too hard, consider this. And I get it. Everyone's goal might not be to be a millionaire. Some people really do have dream jobs, and I think people put too much thought into owning a business. There are seasonal businesses, like we think about Spirit of Halloween, Rita's. They make so much money each and every year, and they're not available all year long. There are some businesses that only operate on weekends, some that only operate on weekdays, and there are multi-millions that you can think of from those. Why is it that the thought of you owning a business means that you have to do something that is going to completely make you quit your job or completely send you into a different space? There's something that is so foreign that it's impossible for you to consider. Rather, I would think that maybe you might be suffering from not having the knowledge to even just be able to put yourself in a framework of, okay, what is possible for me? Owning a business doesn't have to be so complicated. And while I will talk more about that, consider that. And also consider that if you think that it's impossible for you to start a business, or even if you know, okay, I want to start a business, one of the first things that we need to do to begin creating generational wealth is to create generational knowledge. It is so vitally important that more people who are hungry for more money, and that's whether you want to own a business or not, more people need to learn how to put the work in on themselves so they can see how it's possible to make more. Other than some of these, I don't know if you guys follow me on TikTok. If not, you should. Like, there's some bosses out there who are just saying, hey, if you're not happy with your job, work more. Come in early, leave late. That'll trick your mind into working harder. Like, that's the kind of information that's out there. Not people saying like, hey, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to for the rest of your life. But that's true. You really don't. But it's really a matter of knowledge, how you see yourself, and what kind of information you're allowing to connect to yourself. And with that being said, I don't believe that it's going to be free to get to a higher level. And like I say, it's going to cost you time, it's going to cost you money, but it will not be free. Sure, you can teach yourself some on your own, but I'll tell you one thing for sure, and this is something that is the truth. I'd say you can learn it on your own, but the wise man learns from the mistakes of others, and that is the truth. I'm in the middle of reading EntreLeadership now. Like, I've been getting in the habit of reading. I'm trying to start reading 10 pages a day. Oftentimes, the knowledge I'm getting from this book is so good that I read more. But so I'm just getting into that habit now. And as I'm reading this book, let me tell you how over the past, now I'm about to be at 2 years in my business come February. I'm reading this book, and when I tell you that the problems that I've been having for the past few months with hiring people is something that he word for word verbatim explained in this book. I couldn't really explain it in the best capacity, but I can tell you, I've said that if you go out of your way and you hire someone, a lot of times, if you don't have a thorough hiring process, I'll find people who just show up and they don't care anything about the business. He said verbatim in the book, if you hire someone just for money, They'll just work for the check. That's it. But if you hire someone who believes in what you believe, they'll give you their blood, sweat, and tears. They're going to work super hard for you. And that is something that was like amazing to me. Because if I read this book before I started my business, or while I was really going through it with hiring people, I probably could have saved a lot of money, time, stress, and I could go into it. But if he, who has no business, like if Dave Ramsey, who has obviously never worked in a moving company, but in his experience and all of his wealth, writes a book that I buy, and it teaches me about something, like verbatim, says everything that I could have said about hiring people. I could have learned it without having to go through it. And that is the value of knowledge. And it's not even just the little, oh, wow, well, this saved me 3 months. I'm just thinking about what is 3 months versus what is like all the money that can be made just because someone else said it. We're busy trying to reinvent the wheel, but money is out there that could be made from picking up a book. And so I wanted to talk to you guys about how seriously I know that some other people take knowledge. You know, somebody who I follow, Alex Hormozi, he's a great entrepreneur. He spent over $125,000 to ask Grant Cardone a few questions. I think it was just for an hour. I think it was for an hour of his time. I know Nehemiah Davis I was listening to his podcast the other day. He spent $14,000 to go in a class. And where it was a class, it was some kind of entrepreneurship class, but whatever the case, he was talking about the benefits of that class for him just for being in a room full of people who spend that much money to go to an event like that. And then even further, there's this guy who I listen to is a phenomenal speaker and entrepreneur. And for him to speak at your event for 2 hours is $55,000. I'm saying most people haven't even heard of all three of these people. Hugely successful entrepreneurs in their own right. And these are people who I enjoy listening to personally. But when I really think about that, there was a time before when I would hear a number like that and be like, you're spending thousands of dollars to learn something and it's not school for a couple hours? Knowledge is so important. It's really not like if you don't know something, you could miss out on so much, waste so much money and time. And these rich people value it. I know listening to Grant Cardone will tell you that the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire will have a private jet and millionaires won't. And the reason is billionaires value time. It is so vitally important that we, as people who would like to make way more money than we do now, or would like to experience wealth and create generational wealth for our families, it is vitally important that we develop a hunger for knowledge and we start sharing that. We develop a community around that, because if we're not hungry for knowledge, we are literally going to stay in the same place and miss out. Or worse, times are going to get harder. Life is changing. And there's some people who've already adapted to all the changes with inflation and with the economy and with the current market, like the housing market and stuff like that. But there are people who will just like surround you with misinformation also. I'm seeing so many people saying that, okay, well, now is like the worst time to buy a house, so don't buy a house. And these are people who've never owned a house. Like I've seen multiple people say that. And what I can say to you is that everybody I listen to who is like super, super wealthy is probably going to still encourage people to like own something. To like people are still doing house flipping and stuff like that now. And so when I go online and I see certain people in my community saying like, okay, well, I wouldn't buy a house right now. Is that a well-educated thought? Is that a thought that comes from study? Is that a thought that comes from listening to someone who has way more money than you? I think you got to really make a decision. And I think a lot of people have got to make decisions on where you're going to get your information from, because your community matters. Your community is a big part of this knowledge thing. Okay, but let me get back on track to what I was saying. If any of the amounts of money that people spend for like really big speakers or phenomenal entrepreneurs to speak, if that sounds expensive, you know what's also crazy? It doesn't sound super crazy when someone goes to see Beyonce in concert for $200 for 3 hours. That doesn't sound crazy. and you left there for an experience. I'm not saying that's a bad thing to do, but think about that. You would sooner question your friend for, wait, why would you spend $2,000 to go to a class about entrepreneurship? Most people would do that. You spent $2,000. Like, that's kind of more concerning than you spent $200 to go see Beyonce. Or double it up a little bit. Like, there are all these people who were spending $1,000, $1,500 to go see Chris Brown, take a picture with him. You spent $1,500 to go take a picture with Chris Brown? Not as many people are going to question that as you spent $10,000 to go to a class. As soon as I get the money, I'm going. Because I know what they talking about. The $10,000 class is way better than the classes you can get for $29. I'm sure. The people are way more established. I believe it fully. I 100% believe that. So what I have for you guys are 3 suggestions. That's what I would like for you to leave with. 3 suggestions that I believe will help everybody listening to me gain more knowledge. And knowledge that will tremendously change the trajectory of their lives. I believe that if you are in a place that you don't love and you want to go to the next level, knowledge is one of the first steps you'll take. And so one of the first things I'm going to say is buy a book and actually read it. 10 pages a day. If you can do more, great. But 10 pages a day will not take you 20 minutes. I know that an hour workout is 4% of your day. So what is that? 1.5% of your day for 20 minutes of reading? I don't know if my math is good, but 10 pages a day, you can do that. In an interview with the New York Times, Bill Gates shared that he reads about 50 books a year. Gates will actually take reading vacations for 2 weeks at a time. Elon Musk has said that he taught himself physics as well as rocket science simply by reading a lot of books. Mark Cuban will spend up to about 3 hours of his day reading. Oprah Winfrey has referred to reading as her path to personal freedom. She even started her own book club where she talks about her favorite books. Reading is going to be one of the most important things that I leave you guys with today. Read. Secondly, what you think about, you will bring about. And that goes for reading and all these other aspects. But I want you guys to make it a goal to put gaining more knowledge and to put the things that you are you're actively pursuing. You desire to have a cleaning business. Put cleaning in front of you. That sounds really silly when I say that, but I mean, like, whenever you have the opportunity to gain knowledge, buy a book on cleaning from a professional cleaner and like how to run your cleaning business. But the next step, listen to podcasts. Not Joe Budden's podcast, not Joe Rogan's podcast. Like, they're great, funny and love and story podcasts out there. I'm talking about if you go on to any podcast directory and search any topic, you will find episodes. You'll find episodes and people who have dedicated their entire platform, their entire show to whatever topic it is. I guarantee you, you haven't even heard of the people, but you can even look up their credentials. Are they successful in this? And if so, you can learn from them. Guaranteed. That is amazing information. So I'm going to repeat it. Go onto a directory and look up a podcast because it will be so phenomenal for you to be able. Just imagine, think about that. I think they said, I don't have the quote in front. I don't have the measurement in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that they've compared the average commute for over 2 years, or maybe like your average work commute, which is like maybe like 20, 30 minutes. Over a few years, like 3 or 4 years, you got a 2-year college degree because you're spending that much time in the car. That's the average work commute, if I remember that correctly. Whatever the case, just think about taking all the time using the car. How much would you learn if you just dedicated that time, rather than listening to music and jamming, to learning something that you didn't know previously, or something that you're actively pursuing? How many more things could you get? What would your bank account look like as a result of you learning something just in your spare time? While you're driving, all you're doing, just listening and just keeping on your mind what businesses you're thinking about or what things you're actively pursuing. Who knows? My point is simple. We need to make it more of a common practice to hunger for knowledge. I haven't read in a while. I want to hear more people saying that. Or I need to go spend $5,000 for this class. Like, that's the kind of energy that we need to keep around us. And the reason why is very simple. If we have the knowledge, we will have the keys to success. I firmly believe that. And if you don't believe it, you will get left behind. I'm Reggie Davis. Thank you so much for joining me. Check out my page, Jizz. You'll see that we're always talking about something. I'm saying we, it's just me. I'm always talking about something, but hit me up. Let's talk. Reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook, something. Follow me on Twitter and TikTok where I make interesting content, and let's grow. Let me know what books you guys are buying. Thank you. Have a good night.